Hey everyone, my name is Colonel Joe Franklin, and I'm here to invite you all to Colonel's Corner. I have the luxury of speaking with an esteemed Colonel, and I would like for her to introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Colonel Alena Chesser, and I am the secretary for the Central Kentucky chapter of the Honorable Order of Kentucky Colonels.
Awesome. And with the Honorable Order of the Kentucky Colonels, we understand that is the highest title that could be given from the Commonwealth of Kentucky. And with that in mind, the Colonel's Corner is the platform where we feature colonels, their stories of achievement, and their commission stories as well. So I'm going to let you all know that we have a special treat with Colonel Alena Chesser. She has a very powerful story, and I'm going to essentially just ask a few different questions where we can just gather more insight into like more of the things that have led her to the path that she's been on. And overall, I'm hopeful that I'm glad that we were able to connect behind the stage, but I'm hopeful that we can just get more of that insight of your powerful story out into
Yeah,
this platform. So, without further ado, I guess let's start with the questions. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, solid. So, my first question would be, it's just kind of more about an origin story. What makes you tick, and essentially how you started and got your beginnings from like a volunteering standpoint. And I guess I want to ask, is that something that was family oriented? And if so, how has like your family shaped their values from a volunteering vantage point?
So that's a great question because volunteering is definitely in my family. When I was 12 years old, I was old enough to volunteer at a local nursing home. My grandmother actually worked there, and I would go after school and she would have me go around and read to people. And I volunteered in the Alzheimer's unit and I got to play games.
Hmm.
I even helped feed some of the people that were there. And I really loved it because I got to connect with a different generation. And something happened to me that is pretty amazing. I I didn't read very well growing up. I'm
Hmm.
dyslexic. So I had a reading teacher, and her name was Mrs. Reading. And one day I was going down the hallway, and I'd been volunteering there for several years. I was actually in high school.
Yeah.
And I was going down the hallway, and there was a sign that said Mrs. Reading. And I thought to myself, is that my teacher? And so I looked in the room and just popped my head in, and it was. And I said to her, I don't know if you remember me, but I was one of your students.
Hmm.
And she said, oh, yes, I remember you. Come in. I'm going to have you read for me. And I thought, okay, I can show her that I hung on to that and that I can read. And I went in the room and I read the entire newspaper to her. And she said to me, come back tomorrow, you'll read another one. And because she had impacted my life,
Yeah.
I was dedicated to doing that. And I left the room, and one of the nurses said to me, how do you know her? And I told her, and she said, that's amazing because Mrs. Reading is blind. She loved to read. She taught kids how to read. She taught me how to read. And then with age, she lost her ability to read. So I got to help her. So it came full circle.
Yeah.
And I still think about that every time I go out to volunteer. How can this impact somebody else's life?
All right, no, that makes perfect sense, and that's a powerful story. And my thought is so that may have been like the initial nugget, right? Like where
Yeah,
you are like, okay, you understand like what this could do for your life, or someone giving in that capacity.
right.
Um, I would want to ask next, was it another individual that helped shape the way that you saw volunteerism or giving, and maybe influence you to just devote a life of service?
Yeah, my mom and my grandmother, and I'm sorry for my dogs barking
Oh
in
yeah,
the.
no worries. Like we're making this happen. I just dropped my earphones because you came off so ready to go.
Okay.
They're excited for you too in the background. So we're
Yeah.
making it happen.
So let me answer that question. So my great grandmother lived right next door to me, and my mom and I and my stepdad lived. We were seeing each other every day. We lived next door to each other, right? So
Yeah.
I spent a lot of time with her, and she really taught me that life can be rewarding without money, right? You don't have to be rich to be happy.
Yeah.
And that made me willing to give because then I'm like, look, if I have a little bit extra, I can donate that because I know that that money isn't everything.
Hmm.
So that's how I got started. That
Okay.
and the nursing home.
Yeah, and with that too, so I guess there's like a variety of ways people can give.
Yep.
Um, is have you had any alternate examples of you seeing people add value to, like, whether it be community, society, from their gifts?
Abs- Absolutely, 100%. So our chapter does an event, like a local community
Hmm.
event, sometimes twice a month. Sometimes we might skip a month, but generally we are volunteering our hours out to people and
Hmm.
events. And one of the things that we did was go to Project Learn. And Project Learn is for adults living with a disability. They can go there during the day and learn new skills. And as Kentucky Colonels, we've been out there to help paint their walls because they needed new paint done. And the woman that runs the facility um, walked off to do something. And I'm a wheelchair user, but I got out of my wheelchair and I sat down on the floor. And I
Hmm.
was painting the baseboards. And she works with adults with disabilities. So when she saw me on the floor,
Yeah.
she thought, oh my gosh, have you fallen? And I said, no, I'm just down here at work because it's easier. And then I just scoot around on my hands. So we do things like that. Um, we we go to baseball games together and we get
Yeah.
to throw out an opening pitch, and that raises money. So we do a raffle for that, and it really is in our community about being present. Like there is a foster group
Hmm.
here in Hardin County with Home of the Innocents. And we go out there and we serve them dinner and play with the kids so the parents can have their meetings.
All right. Yeah. So with that, is there like a specific colonel whose life is like firmly dedicated to service, and has that commitment that you could describe, like from a day-to-day standpoint? Is there any model from the organizations you support or the chapters that you're a part of that you can just kind of extend some type of spotlight on?
Yeah. And, we actually have a bunch. I was trying to
Okay.
think, okay, we've got Jerry Humble, and then we've got Larry, and we got Maria Bell. But I'll touch on Maria Bell because she's really active in the community. She's on city council
Mhm.
and she feeds the hungry. Every week she sets up a shop where she has cooked all the food, put it in styrofoam containers, parks near the police department, and
Mhm.
hands out food to anybody who comes. Sometimes she does over 100 meals in one day. And she's impressive. It's hard to keep up with her. She's really hyper and really outgoing.
Has a well, she's has a spirit for giving, and a spirit for like leading through giving. So
Right.
that's it's great to just spotlight her. And then I guess you shared a lot of the names that individuals that are out here doing great work. So
Yeah.
you are kudos to you. You're in a very good community, a very good influence of people.
Yeah, absolutely. We have a very surprisingly, we have a big chapter, and people regularly come to everything. Our board is at every event that we do, unless there's an emergency or something. We're all there, and we just have a good time. And we're making new colonels around here all the time, which is even better. Um, Recently, I got to award my doctor with her colonelship, Dr. Ramona Coffey, or Colonel Dr. Ramona Coffey, I guess now. Um, she volunteers to help students with cheering and football. And she has a project that she does, which is really cool. She was seeing students come into her office that didn't have clean socks on, right? They just didn't have clean socks, or they had no socks at all. So she now gives out socks to the kids if they come in that way. And I think that something that simple is very important.
Yeah, it's the small things in that regard that can have like a lasting impact
And
with the
one
students.
of the things I've learned through volunteering and going to elementary schools, I have learned that the second most reason for students not going to school is because they don't have clean clothes and they don't want to go dirty.
Yeah, and I guess that impacts like their self-esteem, impacts morale, and just once again leaves a lasting impact to be able to provide them that.
Yep.
Yeah,
Stops their education.
yeah.
You can't get around in this world if you can't do the basics.
Yeah, absolutely. So I guess I want to pivot just from like the questions that were already planned within that with that in mind because you do have a unique commission story as well where I love these stories that come about where individuals may or may not know exactly how the commission comes about. So can you provide me just like a little background on that and what do you think was like the theme of you, the essence of the work that you were doing to get that commission bestowed upon you.
So I was a deputy before my spinal cord injury,
Okay.
and that was in 2013. I got injured, and it left me paralyzed from T2 down. So that's like my chest down. And I was stuck in the hospital for a long time. And it's scary being in the hospital, right? And I didn't know what had gone on. Actually, when I first woke up, I said to mom, "Hey, what are you doing here?" I didn't realize I was in the hospital. But over time, I went through physical therapy and I started building back up. And they got me a wheelchair that was made for my body. And it's not like a regular wheelchair that you see at a hospital, but a personalized chair.
Mm-hmm.
Fits my measurements and everything. And I remember first getting in that chair and realizing I now have a little bit of freedom. I went downstairs to the hospital lobby, and there was a lady sitting there in a crown and a sash that said Miss Wheelchair Kentucky. And I thought, what's that? So I went over and I spoke with her, and I decided that why not? It would be a good way to connect with other women in wheelchairs, right?
All right.
I will say though, we're women before we're women using a wheelchair, so we can get pretty competitive. But when I took the title, I did go to 87 events. I volunteered um, all over the state. I did a lot of traveling, which was really cool. I went to every elementary school in Hardin County. I let them ask any questions they wanted, and I got some really good questions from young kids. And I did a radio show as well where I let adults call in and ask questions because that happens. We all have questions about disabilities. And the only way we can foster advocating and acceptance is through educating. So that's how I was volunteering and giving back is by reaching out to people and saying, hey, let's talk. Let's learn something together. And it was successful. And I eventually went on to compete at Miss Wheelchair America. Sadly, I didn't win there, but that's okay.
Well, what was that experience like for you?
Oh, that was that might be one of the hardest things I have ever done.
Yeah.
Again, women are competitive. Here we have women from all over the United States gathered in one place for a week. And when I say we were busy, we were getting up At 5 in the morning to do hair and makeup. At 7, we had to be at breakfast. And then afterwards, it was probably 10 o'clock when we got done. And so then we had to go back to the room, sleep, and get up and do it all over again for a week. And huh, we are with the judges from breakfast until dinner is over, right? So you're
Right.
constantly on, and you are constantly trying to be your best self. But the enjoyment came from meeting other women and hearing their story and knowing that I'm not alone.
Yeah.
And, this is a long time ago, but I still have women from that I speak to, that I go and visit, that come here and visit. So it was a good experience, and it does promote disability advocacy because we're not just speaking about those in wheelchairs, but everybody with a disability. And a lot of people don't realize in Kentucky alone, we have 800,000 people living with a disability.
Wow. And that's a major number, you know. So that is to create that awareness for potential advocacy. That's very, very noble, for sure, for sure. Um,
And
so
that makes me find passion for volunteering too, because getting out there and seeing that I'm not alone,
yeah,
but some people can't speak for themselves. So that I got to do that and take on that work was amazing just for me.
wow. So yeah, so that was a pivot from the the questions we already had identified, but I just thought that that was such a powerful piece of your story that I thought would resonate with the individuals that want to take this in. So the audience is in itself. Um, yeah. So next question then. Well, how have the kernels help you build stronger social connections through like volunteer efforts for yourself, or how have you seen essentially kernels created a social fabric that's stronger through volunteerism in total?
So that's a great question. Um, we have come up, our chapter has like little groups of things that we do because we are such a committed group. Um, One of the things is kernels for kernels. That's what we call it. If a kernel has an event that they're hosting, we will make a point to have kernels there to support them. Like when we do our Juneteenth celebration, Michelle Mitchell, who is a colonel, she was on city council, but she hosts the Juneteenth event. And
Yeah.
so every year we go out there to support her and say, hey, what do you want us to do? Do you need our help? How can we help you? And even people, colonels that don't necessarily make it to our meetings, like Boundary Oak, they host us twice a year to a meet and greet. When they have an event, we go to them and we say, hey, we know that colonels work here. We know that there's a colonel that owns the Boundary Oak. So we want to show that we're there for them, no matter what that means, if little or big.
Yeah, for sure, for
And that
sure.
brings us together.
Yeah, absolutely,
But
absolutely.
then also, on a positive note, we're not always working. We have fun too. And a lot of times we have fun when we're supposed to be working. But we go to baseball games and our meet and greet around the bourbon distillery. They teach us everything about it, and it's a lot of fun. And then we have dinners before, and it's just a good time to get together.
Yeah, for sure. And so, would you say that these relationships with the kernels came about through the chapter, or were there some pre-existing connections that you had maybe through giving or through the community that you saw some synergy within that giving space or charitable
Yeah.
space?
So let me tell you, we got some dedicated colonels down here, right? So some of them came together before me. Um, but when I became secretary, I started using everybody I knew. Dave, disabled American veterans, because some of them were colonels, and they didn't even know we had meetings. So I made sure to stay in contact with them. The Red Cross down here had colonels, but they hadn't joined a chapter, and now they have. Um, so really, what I did is I started reaching out and sending emails saying, "Hey, do you have any colonels? If you want to come to a meeting, you can come to a meeting." And our meetings are informative. We start off by doing our chapter stuff, and then towards the end, we have a guest speaker. Well, that guest speaker will tell somebody else, and they'll say, "Oh, I'm a colonel too," and then they'll tell somebody else. It's really word of mouth around here. And being this close to a military installation, we have a lot of colonels.
Yeah, well, I know from just speaking with you backstage, and then even right now as we're on stage, I see that you're not shy when it comes to broadcasting and advertising the mission, and essentially advocating for the organization itself in the community in which you serve. So um, I do want to know, like, for you to essentially amplify that message, are there any other like avenues? Like, how would individuals like find you to then learn more about what either you're doing or the colonels are doing within your chapter?
Yeah, so we have a chapter Facebook page, of course, and that is Central Kentucky Colonels. And you can search that on Facebook, and we put out our newsletter on there, and we put out what events we have coming up. And we actually have a really nice event coming up. Woodland School, what we do for them is every year we go there and we help them clean up their uh, outdoor learning classroom.
Hmm.
So if you want to see us do work like that, you can contact Woodland Elementary. They'll tell you, "Hey, this is when our cleanup day is. If you want to come, you can come and help us." Then we have it. They can reach out to my email. I'm the secretary. I kind of send out a lot of emails, I
Hmm.
have to admit.
Well,
But
it's a tough job, but somebody has to do it, right?
that's right.
Yeah. All right. And I guess, for you, like, how does this contribute to your overall purpose, right? We understand that um, in life, you're rewarded for the work that you're able to do, how you're able to essentially create for yourself through economic means of employment, career. And that tends to be the focal point of what we're taught to do as young kids. Like, hey, what do you
Yeah.
want to do when you grow up, right? But for you, it seems like you've focused heavily on purpose as you're still skill building and doing well within like the pivots that you had in your career. So overall, how does volunteering contribute to your overall sense of purpose? And how do you reconcile that understanding that you still have to go out and create a living for yourself
Right.
through the skills that you build in other avenues?
So I wasn't raised with a whole lot of money, right?
Hmm.
So that's normal for Kentucky. Um, but I was taught that money can't make everybody happy. And it's just something you can't take to the grave. So do the good things that you can that will touch people even when you're gone. And my mom really instilled that in me. And she told me how important it was to be a good human being more than
Yeah.
anything else. And I'm blessed to have a mom like that. And she supported me with whatever I wanted to do. And she still supports me whatever I want to do. And my husband, who is absolutely amazing, is the same way. And he works, and I don't. Um,
Hmm.
I've had a lot of medical complications, so I haven't been able to work like I would want to.
Hmm.
Um, but it didn't stop me from doing what I can. If I wake up in the morning and I feel like I can get out there and do something positive, that's what I do. And sometimes I have to be careful and not run myself down. But for me, money is, yeah, we need it. We have to have it. But we also have to have time to be good to one another. And I feel more comfortable trying to help others than worrying about a paycheck.
No, I totally understand. And we had an aside, backstage about overall being essentially aligned in that area.
Yeah.
And I once again, just more tidbits from your story that's very powerful, especially as you continue to keep yourself going. And you've made some major pivots, and you still have done the great work, right, doing the good deeds. So I guess what we would want to know, right, is like what's next, like, and how do you define what's next as it pertains to the, you know, representing the Kentucky Colonels?
So, what's in the future for me is
Yeah.
I am the secretary of the Kentucky chapter, down Central Kentucky chapter. I want to continue doing that, and I want to continue helping us grow by recruiting people to come and see what our events are like, and to come and have a good time when we go relax and have a nice event. So that, and I want to develop the Miss Wheelchair Kentucky pageant a little bit more. I want to help with that because I want women to know that there's a place for them. And I really find myself in community activities all the time, but it's just whatever pops up. And with the Kentucky Colonels, there's so many opportunities. I have got to go to Project Learn, which we talked about earlier. I have done Hope for Kids Academy. I've did Hope Ministry for families. Um, and the list goes on and on. And I just want to be part of that.
Yeah, and it sounds like you will. And I'm guessing that's a cosign from your dog as well.
Yep.
All right. And I do thank you for your time, for sure, because with this, with Colonel's Corner, this is what it's all about. Just essentially highlighting the stories, understanding the commissions, understanding the achievements, but at the same time, bringing it to life as like you can essentially I can put myself in certain places based on what you're able to share about your overall story. And is there, is there anything that you want to leave the audience with, as being one of the first members of this different iteration of the Colonel's Corner?
Absolutely. I want everybody to know that they are welcome. Uh, we aren't going to limit you. Our chapter, especially, we do family events. Bring your kids, um, bring friends, anybody. Get them involved with helping our community. We don't limit ourselves to just colonels only because we want to grow. And so I say, get out there and volunteer. If you don't know places you can volunteer, you can always reach out to the Kentucky Colonels. They will know where you can go to help. And that's the important thing. Growing, come together, and just have fun.
All right, and I totally agree with that. I think that's a great note to leave on, right? So, Alena, I thank you greatly for your time. So, Colonel Alena, I thank you greatly for your time.
Thank you so much. This was great.
Yeah, absolutely. And thanks for being a part of this new iteration of Colonel's Corner.
I can't wait to do more.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt. All right, I guess this is us signing off. I'm Colonel Joe Franklin, and I appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much.
All right, you take care.
Bye. Is it still recording?
It's still recording. I just need to. Oh, there we go. In recording. All right.
Awesome.
All
Well, we
right.
got it done.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, there it is
So,
right there. Hold on one second. There we go.